This is it. You've been waiting in breathless anticipation for the next Nutribyte, and here we are. And I have to tell you that I know that you're supposed to save the best for last, but I couldn't help it. I was so jazzed. I had to do my favorite nutrition tip right away. So we're going to hop right in and talk about something that is amazingly fitting to nutrition for a hot body and a sexy mind, because we're going to dive into the microbiome and we're going to look at probiotics and prebiotics and talk about how they can impact not only your physical health but also your psychological health. So without any further ado, let's double our P's. Double P's stands for probiotics and prebiotics, and this is a picture of one of my athletes. She's drinking some kombucha. Kombucha contains quite a lot of probiotics. Actually, I've got mine here, gingerade flavor. So I'll probably be diving in for a little bit of live culture help. So good. I might have just gotten several 100,000 microorganisms. So probiotics are defined as live cultures that provide health benefits. And if you want an even sexier definition, I'm going to pull up a very recent article that you can find. It is open access in the International Journal for Current and Microbiology and Applied Sciences. And notice that this article is very comprehensive in defining probiotics, prebiotics, and symbiotics. We're going to totes leave symbiotics for the very end because it is the most phenomenal synergy. But first, let's begin by just simply defining in a little more sexy-minded way probiotics. So look at this. The Greek meaning of the word probiotics is for life, which are viable live microorganisms when administered in adequate amounts that confer health benefits on the host. Some of these include the good guys, right? The superheroes of our gut. These are the lactococci, the lactobacilli, which collectively we can think about them as being in a group called the lactic acid bacteria, because they ferment lactose, the milk sugar, and convert it into lactic acid. I just love it when we get to work with lactic acid bacteria in the lab, because we're working with lab in the lab. It's pretty rad. So these are our superheroes. Now, you'll notice that lactobacilli are found in a lot of probiotic products, bifidobacteria as well. And in fact, in my morning smoothie, I absolutely love to drink just a little bit of kefir or lassi. This is some that I picked up down at our local food co-op. And check this, over 15 billion live probiotics. And when we read through them, what's really rad is that we can see that it contains Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus casei, Bifidobacterium lactis. Hey, the good guys, right? We've got a lot of good probiotics in something like this lassi drink. So these are going to confer health benefits. And it's cool to think about the microbiology that is even the biochemistry behind all of this. Thinking about the way in which these bacteria actually degrade various substrates, as I mentioned, lactose being one of those, biogenic amines, allergenic compounds, and they convert them into short-chain fatty acids and other organic acids and gases as well, right? Oftentimes in fermentation, not only is acid a byproduct, but also gas as well. So we see these being some of the culprits, I should say, the heroes in our microbiome. They are the ones that are allowing us to have health benefits that come from these live cultures. Now, what are their health benefits? Well, they do a lot of good stuff, right? Control of diarrhea, and if anybody's like me, I'm typically a little bit lactose intolerant, but when I take in enough probiotics, I don't have any problems with lactose anymore. So they are anti-carcinogenic. Some lactobacilli actually have anti-tumorigenic compounds in their cell wall. They can lower cholesterol. So these are some of the rad health benefits that we can get from our first P. But without further ado, let's talk about our second P, because if probiotics are important, then of course the food that they chow down on is also very important, and things that stimulate not only their growth, but also their activity in some way towards improving host health. So let's look at the full sexy definition. A non-digestible food ingredient which beneficially affects the host by selectively stimulating the growth and or activity of one or a limited number of bacteria in the colon. Colon, that's just, the high and mighty definition of the gastrointestinal tract or your gut. So this is found again in that same journal article that I was just reading to you from. So you're wondering, well, what are some of these prebiotics? I mean, so I can take in probiotics, right, in this form, but what about prebiotics, the food or the non-digestible food that I would take in to fuel and stimulate these probiotics? Well, let's face it. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are a great prebiotic. Garlic, fantastic prebiotic. Others, though, are out there. Leeks, shallots, asparagus, oats, and others. So we see a lot of different kinds of fructooligosaccharides and transgalactoligosaccharides. Remember that these are just polymers of sugars that are bound together to make an oligosaccharide. So monosaccharide means one sugar. Oligo means it means between 2 and 20 sugars. So we're seeing a polymer of sugars that is the prebiotic for the stimulation of the probiotics. So let's take a look at the bacteria of the gut and the overall microbiome or microbiota profile that we might see within our gut. This is something that is being very actively researched. So you might check it out when you have a chance. The Human Microbiome Project is a really amazing it's very synergistic, a very, very collaborative project that scientists are engaging in to try to determine profiles of healthy versus disease state microbiota. That is the normal kind of residence of our gut. And so what we are starting to understand, talk about getting jazzed, is that we are our microbiome. In fact, again, as I mentioned in an earlier Nutribyte, we might think of our microbiome as the least studied or the least studied organ in our body, and yet probably the most important one, because we are now seeing the link between the health of the microbiome and different disease states. This can include things like allergy and asthma, immune function, obesity, and even mental health. So let me bring in a couple of other recent literature articles that you can take a quick gander at to see some of these cool things. This is one of my favorites. This is a 2014 publication looking at how, let's even just read the title because it's just sexy in and of itself. House dust exposure mediates gut microbiome, lactobacillus enrichment, and airway immune defense against allergens and virus infection. AKA, this article is telling us that when children are exposed to dust, particularly that dust which is of an animal origin. So it's fun to look in here. They talk about a murine model, that's just the sexy term for mice and rats. But it says if we expose them to dog-associated house dust, it protects against multiple things that are allergen mediating. That is the pathology, right, means the disease state. So this is going to help to alleviate allergens. It's also immune enhancing. It's also leading to immune tolerance, right, that it allows us to recognize foreign invaders without having a massive immune response to them, which is what allergy is. So check out this cool piece of literature. Again, another open access journal article. Here's another rad one. Guess what? Our microbiome mediates our healthy weight. So that is, we could say that the human gut microbiome plays a huge role in obesity. This is a book that is also available online. And when we look at this, let's look at the bottom of the abstract, taken together, the data currently published suggests that specific changes in the gut microbiota occur in overweight or obese patients and are either positively or negatively linked with adiposity, inflammation, and glucose or lipid homeostasis. So manipulation of the microbiota through diet can promote healthy weight loss by altering gut function and metabolism. Whoa, hey, hello, that means our bacteria in our gut are responsible for our healthy weight. Check that. Prebiotics, probiotics, here we come. And get this, not only do they affect things like obesity, but also our mental health, depression, and anxiety. This next publication is one that has not really even technically been published yet. It's a 2015 publication in Current Opinions in Biotechnology. You can actually see the abstract online, and we're going to take a look at that. So the human gut microbiome is composed of an enormous number of microorganisms, generally regarded as commensal bacteria. I don't buy that whole commensal thing. That whole commensal thing means that they neither harm nor help us. Really? Anyway, without this inherent microbial community, we would be unable to digest plant polysaccharides and would have trouble extracting lipids from our diet. Resident gut bacteria are an important contributor to healthy metabolism. There is significant evidence linking gut microbiota to metabolic disorders such as obesity and diabetes. We already talked about that. In the past few years, neuroscience research has demonstrated the importance of microbiota in the development of brain systems that are vital to both stress reactivity and stress-related behaviors. Here we review recent literature that examines the impact of diet-induced changes in the microbiota on stress-related behaviors, including anxiety and depression. Wow, crazy that. And how about a synbiotic? Okay, so this is the best part. I'm going to give you a recipe for my morning smoothie. I have one of these every morning, synbiotic smoothie, we're going to call it, because not only are there probiotics in it, but there are also prebiotics. Together, they work in synergy with one another. So I put a little bit of frozen fruit in the bottom of the blender, some lassi or kefir, then I add some purple carrot juice with its massive prebiotics, some soy milk, a splash of lemon or concentrated cranberry for just a little tartness, and then blend it in the blender and share it with your favorite friend. So how's that for a little bit of hot nutrition tips for sexy mind and a hot body?